We are live. Ladies and gentlemen, you once again welcome to the Kingdoms podcast. And I have today with me Beauty and Brains, Cindy Panda Hernandez. How are you, Cindy?
Thank you. I'm doing wonderful. Yourself?
I'm good, I'm good. I'm fine, like we were talking before we hit the record button, I see you like the female version of myself. It's cool when a person is good looking, but also has good brains, It's good when you're good looking and intelligent at the same time, that's like the well-rounded package for a human being. Because when you think about it, it's cool to be smart. It's good to be brainy, cerebral, intelligent. But like for me, I have discovered there are certain places wherein your intellect can only maybe take you to the door, and your good looks would, grant you favor before people. People just like a good looking person. So I know for
Oh, for sure, for sure. Trust me, it all goes hand in hand.
it
You
all
could
goes
be the
hand in
smartest
hand.
person in the world,
Yeah,
but if you're not approachable, if you're not someone that someone can
yeah.
get comfortable with, it's not going to go anywhere.
And of course, your photos, do not give a good representation of how good you look. And that resonates with me as well.
Yeah,
A lot of times people see me on Instagram, and when they meet me in person, then they keep looking like, you look better in person.
yeah.
They're like, you're finer than I thought. You're taller than I thought. I'm like, okay, excuse me. I said, I like to say it's under promise but over deliver.
Yeah.
I have made peace with the fact that I am not photogenic in this life.
I'm the same. I'm the same. It's awkward. It's just, pose and smile. I'm like, huh?
And we have the squinting eyes. So a
Yes,
lot of times in
always.
photographs, it just looks like, oh,
Yeah,
you're
my eyes
closing
are
your
closed
eyes.
in 90% of the photos.
They're like, no, open your eyes. And then I'm like, and it's not natural. Whoa. Interesting stuff, But can you tell us a bit about yourself, your background, and how you became a sports recovery coach, for the
Yes.
elite level fighters, in organizations like the UFC, Bellator, PFL. You are, I don't know, you're too much. You're just too much. Come on. You are the cream de la cream. You are the elite level. You are the A plus plus when it comes to sports recovery coaching. So talk to us. How did it all start?
So, I was always active as a kid. I'm the youngest of four. My parents' background, they're all from Peru. So, when we grew up in Denver, my dad kept us really active with everything. It was school, studies, activities. It was whether somebody had a soccer game, whether it's my siblings or myself, or if we're doing other activities, it was constantly being active. But I was more of the injury prone child. So if there was
Whoa.
something to trip over, I tripped over it. I even trip over myself walking. I was super clumsy as a kid, but I was still adventurous. I always liked trying new things. I would climb trees and fall out of trees. My grandma would call me Panda because of that. But
Oh,
getting
that's how you got the
older,
name
yeah,
Panda?
yeah, I'm clumsy yet durable.
Because I was thinking like, how come Panda? You look nothing like a panda.
Thank you. But no, growing up and always doing sports, I was always doing co-ed sports. I was doing indoor soccer, co-ed, outdoor soccer. I played a little bit with volleyball from time to time. Just I always like trying different things, but I was always getting hurt, injured because one, the coaches weren't showing us how to warm up properly because their minimum requirements didn't require them to have that knowledge. And then, so now you have people coaching for sports that one they've never even played and they don't even know how to prepare the kids for. So I was always getting injuries. I had dislocations, I've had breaks, and every doctor would just tell my mom she shouldn't be playing this sport anymore, or she just shouldn't be playing these kinds of sports if she's getting injured all the time. But instead of having a solution to what's going on, I ran into all these frustrations of everyone's telling me how to do my life that has never lived in my lifestyle before. So it's like you have doctors, physicians, surgeons all telling you that, hey, you shouldn't be doing this, but they have a big belly and probably haven't seen their toes in years and probably
Big
don't even
belly.
know how long it's been a walk, you know? So,
That sounds more like a panda.
yeah,
Those
exactly.
are the real pandas now. You need
But
to put on more weight to earn that name physically.
yeah, so for my biggest thing was always I wanted to have everything cohesive because once I started finding like sports specific, PTs and their teams and crews, I started learning like so somebody knows how to do certain aspects of things and I understand we need teams for scope of work, but I want to be able to supply everything I can in one short session without having to deal with everybody and everything and all these little like I'm not going to send you somewhere to go get personal training, somewhere else to go get PT, somewhere else to go get a massage, somewhere else to go get functional movement and corrective exercise. That's way too much. I wanted to be an all cohesive one stop. So my
Stop
biggest
shop.
thing was I wanted to get everything going. When I was in massage school, I was already starting getting information for continuing education credits for sports massage, medical massage. Men and women both do sports. So I wanted to understand how to working with OBGYN offices on how, weight cuts, how the body stresses, the hormones that women go through, the changes, the ups and downs and the peaks, how that actually affects the body because it does affect the soft tissue, but then also dealing with gastroenterologists and breathing physicians because a lot like breath work has been around for years and it's just getting a trend now. But this thing has been around for years because, and a lot of it derived from people that were suffering from panic attacks because the
Whoa.
way you hold on to your breathing, you don't allow full breath, you get it stuck in the diaphragm, with then in turn, all that starts to build. It starts to impact your muscles in the front and in the back. So, with all that in mind, I wanted to go work with gastroenterologists and I wanted to see how just the damage from you not being on point with either having issues with large intestine, small intestine, breathing, panic attacks, how that affect and entrapped your body so you weren't even peak performancing at that time. Again, a lot of this is I've learned from patients having specific issues, but what I did was apply that to athletes because they're normal people too. They have stressors. Get panic attacks. They have, mind body connection isn't always there because they're not taught right away. So I just wanted to be an all encompassing factor. But also, my biggest thing was making sure everyone was comfortable with what I was providing. And my biggest thing of how to do that is being the patient for so many years as a kid growing up was I want to hear what you have to say, not what your coach is telling me. I'm going to listen to your coaches. I'm going to hear from your PT, whatever notes they have, but I want to hear from you what's going on with you because your words carry more weight than everything else around us. So giving
Exactly.
that
You
person,
know your own
being
body.
present, you know what I mean? It's, being present for that person because it's athletes are pushed and pulled in so many different directions. And the higher level and the more popularity they gain with that, they're not being really heard to a lot of effects, especially when it's coming to personal, when it's coming to performance, when it's coming to recovery. So being a trusted soundboard is awesome for that. So that was my thing. It's like I need to be able to do this and do it effectively, but also have the work ethic and say no to a client even if we don't agree. I don't agree with that approach. This is not how I want to handle things. Always saying yes to somebody because of their status is not a good response. It's not a good practice.
It's not professional behavior.
Exactly.
It's not professional. You need to be objective, and of
Yeah.
course, like being objective is essential to keep your integrity because you don't have to agree, with everything that I put forward, right? But if this is the fact, if this is scientifically proven, right? If this is tested and trusted, I put it to you. It's left to you to take what I have
Yeah.
recommended. So I very much agree with that approach. But that leads me to asking, in terms of your educational degree, so what degree did you end up, coming out with? Because you are like uh jack of multiple uh
Yeah.
health care trades. Like I'm curious to know what degree and what school. what university did you attend, and what degree did you end
So
up,
with here, I went to I renewed with Northwest Kerr College for my licensing for massage therapy. You have to be licensed in the state of Nevada. So in the states,
Okay.
every state has their own scope, has their own. So, for example, like California, you only need a certification. And for me, I don't agree with that. I think when you're for certain aspects and variables, a certificate is fine. You just need to comprehend what you can and cannot do, contraindications, all these things. In Nevada, you have to have a license. So you're going through a lot more training. You have more hours that you have to perform under supervised hours, and it's a lot more grueling here in Nevada. I know New York is almost as difficult, and I feel Florida as well. And I think there's a couple more. But so I have to be licensed here and I have to renew my license every 2 years. In lieu with that, combined, I have to do a certain amount of continuing education credits
Yeah.
another thing that a lot of people don't understand. It's just because you have your continuing education credits doesn't mean you really learned anything. So I
Oh,
know me's, yeah. Oh yeah. Like I tell people, a degree and a
tell me about
license,
that.
yeah, a degree and a license to me doesn't mean anything unless you can explain it to me in the most simplicity form. That's what I want. You can give me all the big words and the synopsis and then showing me all these, images and PowerPoint presentations. Talk to me like I'm five. How are you going to explain this to a 5-year-old?
Break it down.
Break
Basics.
it down. And a lot of them can't. And it's a humanization thing. It's like
Mm,
a degree just tells me you memorized answers and you passed the test.
yeah, you were able to pass a test.
Yeah. Your
But
career
I
tells me how you were able to apply that.
yeah, exactly. What
So,
what are the results you've been able to
yeah,
achieve? And what's the impact you've been able to make, in the lives of your clients? And then
exactly.
we can have a conversation. You were talking about, breath work, and it reminds me of meditation. They they do a lot of breath work and meditation, things like yoga, but it seems like there's a whole lot to breath work than has been previously perceived. Do you want to talk, a bit more about, breath work, like educate people on breath work? Because lately I've been seeing like a lot of medical articles, medical podcasts, talking about how breath work can affect your sleep,
Oh, for sure.
affect your
Breathwork's huge.
awareness, so many things. And I'm like, how come? Just the way I breathe. Whoa. Like, what's up with breath work?
So breath work is huge. Again, it's not a new science. It's not a new thing that we've been building. It's just a lot of people now have been opening their eyes to it and being like, "Holy crap, this actually really does affect the full body." And then now that they're seeing that, okay, if it's affecting an average person's body, how is this affecting our athletes? And so for me, when it comes to the breath work, I went down the path because for me, I've had anxiety since I was a child and I've had panic attacks. I still get them from time to time. So I wanted to learn why I couldn't control my breathing if this is my body. And then how can I build that mind body connection to help myself through a panic attack instead of just letting it happen and then taking its toll. So I met with a few different instructors for it. I've met with a few surgeons that have actually done a lot of work with diaphragm and seeing how congested that area gets from holding your breath. A lot of us don't even breathe correctly. A lot of people
Exactly.
do short, low, shallow breathing all day, which too much of anything isn't good for you. So if you're keeping that shallow, you're not really expanding your chest and your abdomen. You're not really getting a full breath. So, and with that in hand, if you don't know what it feels like to get a full breath and really slowly exhale from that, you're just trapping in all these muscle groups that are just going to constantly contract. And then there's going to be inhibitions. They're not going to know how to work or they're going to get locked up. So a lot of thing with fighters, because with fighters, we're constantly having to brace our core but still know how to take a full breath. And it's so hard to teach. I've had to explain it so many different ways. I've shown people when I've done it, when I've been present for classes or when I've been training. And it's not an easy thing, but to learn how to control your diaphragm and your abdomen helps so much. But then also too, because you're bracing, which is, flexion on the abdomen, and you are still trying to breathe, that area still can get congested. So what ends up happening is, especially when I get a lot of fighters on the table, and they're just like, you could hear them. I see them talking, and I see, just the chest moving, the belly's very shallow. Okay, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go through. We're gonna strip the abdomen out. I'm gonna open everything up, and as soon as I'm done, it's not even 5 to 7 minutes into the session. I ask them to take a deep breath, fully fill the belly, fill the chest, and they can't even believe it. And just the relief that comes over their face from just being able to do a simple act of just inhaling, feeling the body, and then letting it all out. They're like, I haven't been able to do that in weeks. But then again, it's okay. They think that's okay. I'm fine. I can still train and perform, not, hey, my breath's getting a little shallow. Let me get this addressed now before it gets bigger.
Breath work. Now, for the common person, right, who is not into active sports, what comes to my mind easily in terms of, how breath work affects like common activities in daily life is things like snoring and sleep apnea. So, how does, what connection does breath work have with snoring and sleep apnea, and what is the proper way to breathe in order to tackle these, issues?
So when it comes to snoring, that's positioning and how you're breathing. So a lot of the snoring that ends up happening is because people are more mouth heavy in the breathing. Instead of going nose to mouth, exhale, inhale, exhale, they're going more throat heavy. And then the snoring that grows is from the dryness from breathing in and keeping the mouth open, and also positioning from the neck if you're uncomfortable, and the position of the pipe, your windpipe, when that's happening. So a lot of it's changing up your pillow. I tell people all the time, pillows aren't meant to last for years on end. So if you have a pillow that's more than 2 years old, it's probably not supporting you the way it did before. Human head's pretty heavy. So I always tell people, switch out your pillows all the time. I have so
You
many
said the
pillows on my
human head
bed.
is really
Yeah,
heavy.
it is heavy. It is heavy.
Reminds me of something we say back home. I come from Nigeria.
Uh-huh.
Like in Nigeria, if you want to insult a person with their head, you say you have a coconut head. So,
Coconut head. Oh, that's
so
awesome. I love
are,
that.
are you?
Coconut head.
So I'm giving you a Nigerian. So are you saying that we are coconut heads?
Hey, I have a coconut head too. Okay. Yeah, you got to
No way.
rotate your pillows. It's finding positioning. And then there's other variables too. Like we can go into, weight and stuff like that when it comes to the snoring. Other thing with sleep apnea, with the breath work, a lot of times with sleep apnea, the issue is most common overweight, chest is too heavy. So even bodybuilders get this when they get really big and really huge and put on so much mass, that mass is too much for their chest. So they need help breathing. I've worked with a few sleep clinics here. Anybody that's gotten recent issues with that, not necessarily from weight gain, but they've actually gotten properly diagnosed now from training with, powerlifting or heavy lifting, strongman competitions. A lot of the doctors will refer them to me. They're like, because this is the other thing, kind of going off on a side route here, but if you're not fighting for yourself, what makes you think your doctor is going to fight for you? So, like I tell people, if you walk in and let the doctor control the whole conversation, that's what's going to happen the whole time. But if you take the reins, let them know who you are, what outcomes you're looking for, that changes the game plan. That makes them have to do the work. You need to ask the why. So I work with two physicians that work with a sleep clinic here in Vegas. And when they get athletes of a certain age that have been doing strongman competitions and weightlifting competitions, and they're having issues even breathing still with the sleep apnea machine, a lot of times they have them come see me and they're like, you need to get your abdomen worked on. She's going to teach you how to breathe. how to be mindful of that. And she'll sit with you and work with you. And a lot of the stuff too can be done over the phone, but I like to do a lot of the manual work and make sure we're on point and they're actually doing stretches and movement. People are so rigid throughout their days. It's like you got to just get up and move.
So you're saying a lot of things that I am absorbing, right? And I think
Mhm.
relates very much to not just fighters, but everyday people, because a large population of the people who are going to be watching this podcast are everyday people who are not, even athletes, right? And the beautiful thing about, things that athletes take seriously, like diet, nutrition, exercise, fitness, right, apply to everyday people. So I was quite curious, right, about how breath work possibly, or does it have any form of connection with sleep paralysis?
So I haven't, I've seen some studies on it,
Is there
and
any
it
form of
sleep
correlation?
paralysis is traumatic to the body. The body goes through trauma. People use the word trauma and they think worst case scenario sometimes. But someone punching you in the arm is a trauma to your body. The result is a bruise. So people are like, oh, you can't say trauma. It's like, no, it is. It's a trauma to your body. We all have a different response, men and women. A lot when it comes to the breath work and trauma responses, whenever anything bad happens, we get scared, we get injured, we fall and tumble. We just go to short, shallow breathing, and it affects the body and it changes the muscles that are attached to our lung area, our rib cage, our abdomen, and all those muscles are going to start trying to tweak and work and interact differently. Almost like if you go from powerlifting to all of a sudden, I'm going to do high intensity workout training and not think it's going to create different stresses in the body. So, I work with a lot of medical patients, and elderlies too. Athletes have parents, and they're like, "Hey, you've done such a great job with me. Do you mind checking out my parents?" I'm like, "Of course. That's exactly what I want to be able to do. I want to help the whole family." And so, like, I get their parents that come in, then the parents refer me their friends, and I had a couple that came in. This was now about a year ago. They were referred friends of a fighter's family, and the mom was she had a bad fall in the house, not downstairs or a ladder. She just fell and rolled because the space was open and then her body was stopped by a piece of furniture.
No
But
way.
she didn't break anything. Luckily, she didn't hit her head, but she had like the normal response of just kind of like, tightening up and like shallow, short, shallow breaths. And no one really had paid attention to that. And so she was seeing different doctors and they were addressing the little issues. She went to somebody for body work before and she said she didn't feel like it did too much. And I was like, okay, well, I was like, you tell me what happened. She was, and then her husband, it was funny because her husband, I already told, I'm like, no, no, no. I'm like, I got your version. I want to get hers. So I was like, you tell me what happened. So she walks me through what happened with her during the incident. So I started working with her and talking with her, and I was like, trying to mimic my breathing, just try and follow me how I'm going, because as she even went through telling this story of this fall, she started getting tighter and a little breathing, and people don't understand that is a traumatic thing that happens, and especially when you're older and you're more vulnerable. So if
Hmm.
she's telling everyone this story every time she goes to see the doctor, but no one's addressed that reaction, we need to figure out what's going on. So it came to, she was like, I'm afraid to fall again because it took me so long to get back up. So I was like,
Mm.
okay, we're going to work on this. I got you. So I helped her address the breathing issue, but also the falling issue. So I put out a program for her and we did stuff together even during our sessions. Sometimes she came in for body work, sometimes she came in just for movements, and it was just simple motions that my coaches started watching. It's funny. I'll get coaches or other students and they'll start, that work in the gym or train at the gym and they'll watch. Like if a coach friend of mine that was work in the gym with me that morning saw how I was working with her and he just wouldn't stop staring and it cracked me up. I was like, you good? He's like, can you show my mom how to do that? And I was just like, why? It's like, I'm afraid she's going to fall, but she's the way she's working, because it's basically you break down a lot of the push-up movements, how to set up a push-up, how to get up from a push-up, and you have them keep repeating that motion. And there's a few other things that we work on with resistance bands, but the outcome of that outweighed everything else, because you saw every time she came into an appointment, she was walking up straighter. She was
Mhm.
walking with a smile, more confidence in her walk. When she would tell me the story again, she would just tell me nonchalantly like it happened. And she just, the confidence in being in your body at that age is amazing to see that light burn so bright again. And those are the things that I look forward to. It's turning the no's that they hear so often and saying, no, we're going to do this. We're going to figure it out. No matter what, we're going to figure this out. It may not be 100% to what you want, but I'm not telling you no. And we're going to go every avenue possible to make sure it's doable.
Wow. There's a lot to unpack, from what you've just said, right?
Yeah.
And for me, I relate very much to these things, and I appreciate, your wealth of knowledge, your wealth of experience, and also your wealth of wisdom, because it takes wisdom to be able to apply knowledge, and make it impactful, right, over time, and that gives you a wealth of experience, because it's not just enough to know things, right, but also be able to adapt and apply, the
Hmm.
techniques, the methodologies, right, in real life situations, right, and help people. So I'll give an example of my own self. Let's start with trauma. I did have an accident, an auto accident in 2021 June, right? Very, very terrible accident. A car somersaulted, hit a concrete barrier, like nearly lost my life, right?
Oh,
But
wow.
I was bleeding from the accident, but only to realize that my back was like really affected, like the muscles, I was experiencing muscle spasms, right? Now, so there was what do you call this scan? The MRI, right? That was
MRI.
done. Yeah, the doctor just said your bone structure is okay, you don't have any fractures, thankfully, but then you would have signs of muscle spasms, blah, blah, blah. I did not realize that muscle injury was a severe thing.
It's
So
huge.
basically, just did massages, resting at home, blah, 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 right? But let me talk about the trauma part. For a while, I did not even want to drive at all.
Oh,
I realized
I
when I was
get
driving
it.
on that same road, right? When I was on that lane, I moved to to the other lane because my brain couldn't
Yeah.
process
Fight or
driving on that
flight. Your
particular
body's,
lane.
hmm?
No, but I'm this kind of person. I like to face my fears, right? So over time, I'm like, okay, I went back again. I'm like, that lane, I am gonna face it. I'm gonna face my
Love
fears,
it.
right? And
Yeah.
then started facing it, and over time I was able to overcome that trauma of driving along that particular highway. Now coming to the muscle injury, right? So I moved to London in 2000, in the next year, yeah, after
Okay.
the accident. Yeah, so
Okay.
it's a colder region. Nigeria is tropics, warm weather. So I noticed like warm weather is kind of favorable to muscle injuries. You really won't feel it. But when you are in the winter exposes you. The cold exposes,
The rain exposes you. Yeah.
frailties in your bones, frailties in your muscles. It calls you out by your name, by your middle name. And then, I was like, what is happening? What's happening? Somebody told me to work with a chiropractor, but I was working with the chiropractors for a while. I noticed, okay, these guys were working on the bones, right? Cracking the bones until I started working with a physio. That is when things started really getting better. And then the physios were giving me some ridiculous stretches. Like, do this stretch, do that stretch. Like, it felt ridiculous, but over time, right?
Hmm.
Things, started getting better, started healing up. And I'm like, okay, okay. Now, talking about mindfulness, right?
Hmm.
It takes, mindfulness and a certain level of, physical exercise and stretches. A lot of people do not take stretches seriously.
Yeah, they really don't. I have a few that I could waterboard you, I would. Yeah, it's just stretched. It's like a simple, it doesn't,
They don't realize
yeah.
how stretches can save your life.
Stretching's huge. It's huge, especially as we get older too. It's like I tell them, like, movement means
Exactly.
freedom. The moment you want to stop moving or being active, okay, then be the old dude in the walker with the tennis balls with pancake ass and just taking your time going down the street. Let that be you. I want to be him. I'm going to be running, speed walking by you.
So until I discovered, working on breathing, right, and working on
Hmm.
stretching, it felt like I hit a different level of transformation. But speaking of
Oh, yeah.
mindfulness, right? Mindfulness kind of helps you to deal with traumas, right?
Hmm.
Because the mindfulness did help me deal with that, accident trauma. And at some point, I used to like struggle with sleep paralysis at some point, but like I became more mindful. And the first time it ever happens to you, you would probably think, "Oh, am I dead now?"
It is terrifying. No, I've only had two episodes. I call them episodes
Yeah,
of
I think
of
so.
see, yeah, of see, and it's just like you kind of feel
So
like
how was the
someone
first one?
sedated
How was the
you but
first one?
forgot to put it
How was the
all the
first
way
one?
through. It was terrifying. It was terrifying because you're like,
But
I
but the
can't
second
move.
one, but the second
Second
one,
one, I was like, okay, you've been through this. We just gotta
yeah,
let
see,
it
but
run its
that
course,
is
but let's
that
breathe.
that is the thing with the mindfulness. You be like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I've been here, right? Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
It's just
We're
it's
good.
just
We
gonna
know
take a
this.
while.
We know we're gonna survive. We're good. Just gonna suck for a little bit. Mhm. Yeah.
So this is us being real, right? Like
Yeah.
if you,
Shit, yeah,
if you
sleep
experience
paralysis
it
is
out
no
there,
joke.
don't be
Anybody
scared.
that's ever been through that, I'm like, I'd rather get teeped in the abdomen than go through sleep paralysis. It's like,
What would you rather get leg kicked by Alex Pereira or go through sleep paralysis?
I'd rather get the leg kick. Honestly, I got pretty dense legs. The funny thing is, I was thinking about that the other day because my brother, from my legs are pretty dense and they've taken on a lot of damage throughout the years. And even still lately, my coach and maybe one of our training buddies from like Glory were the only people to ever really sit me down with a leg kick. So I'm always kind of like, how hard is it? I'm like, because he's kind of kicking people that either aren't braced or have no experience with it. So I just kind of, I'm like, I want to take a tap. I just want to see how like 20, 30%. I'll entertain that. Well, we could build.
It's vicious. It is vicious, especially like when it hits the perennial nerves, like
Hmm.
then you're gonna be in for a hard time. It feels like your body just goes numb, like you're disabled, and the whole body basically is anchored with the leg. The legs are the pillars of the body. So like
Oh
when the
yeah.
pillar is gone, it feels like what's happening? What's happening? I'm going.
Yeah, yeah, chop those legs down. You can't move and you can't walk.
So like speaking of, the stretches, right? It's
Hmm.
for me personally, right? I've been able to experience the greatness of working with physiotherapists, right? It feels like the kind of work that they do is ridiculous, especially when they give the routines. Because I'm not gonna lie, right? The first, set of routines they gave me, right? I just look kind of like, what the hell is this? I'm like, okay, I hear you. Please, can you give me medicine that I can take that can help this thing? They're like, no, no medicine. I'm like, oh, no way. Like, where I come from, right?
Oh.
Where I come from, we like to take medicine for anything, just especially when the medicine is bitter, you know. They feel like they feel like the more bitter the medicine, the more effective. Like give me any medicine, I'm gonna take it. And they're like, no medicine, you have to do the stretches, blah blah blah. And then they tell you drink water. They tell you take there's this salt, Celtic salts, right? Do this other thing they say for distressing, right? That deals with radiology, like taking off the 5G rays off, your computers, off your phones. Like
Oh, like the blue
these,
lenses?
yeah,
Or is it
using
a
blue
supplement?
lenses, yeah, using blue lenses, using supplements, right? They say helps to distress. And then there's this thing I was given for distress, and they say these things like help with the radioactive rays around you. I'm like, whoa, so many things, so much research around these days, right? But the stretches were like
Mm-hmm.
a miracle, like especially when you're consistent. Because the next time you have an appointment, the question the physio is gonna ask you is, did you do the stretches?
Mm-hmm. And we can
And
tell.
and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I only did it for 2 days, and then like, helping yourself, like do it. And they can tell because like when they touch, the muscles, right? They can
Mm-hmm.
feel it. So there was a time I decided, okay, I'm gonna be a good boy, and I did the stretches for 2 weeks consistently. And then, when the physio touched the back, she was like, you're improving, you're improving. And then I was
Mm-hmm.
so happy.
We can tell the difference. I would tell when people are lying to me on the table, I'm like, this is gonna be fun. It's just yeah. Mm-hmm.
So how do you react to it where, people are not doing the recommended stretches and they still want to be fine?
So like that's what I always tell people. I'm like, just do the homework. Do the homework. I'm there, aren't you tired? Or it's too easy. They're not interested in it. And I'm like, well, not doing this is going to set you behind. So you pick and choose. Stretch a little bit. That's could be you consider boring, but get it done. It's part of your routine. Eating sometimes gets boring if you're eating the same thing all week. It just
Mm-hmm.
depends. But
Mm-hmm.
it's all cohesive. It all goes together. How you fuel your body, how do you take care of your body? It's all going to contribute to your performance. So it's like, yeah, for me, stretching is when I'm not working, I stretch twice a day. Depending on my workload, if I have like a full long day schedule, I'm stretching 3 to 4 times a day, including foam rolling. So this is me because I'm standing at most on average, I want to say 12 to 16 hours a day, I'm standing.
Wow.
So, and it's funny, but when I get home though, the last thing I want to do is sit. So a lot of the times I'm either laying on the floor with my legs up on the couch, trying to just decompress my spine and breathe, or I'm foam rolling or just laying straight out.
So what form of stretches would you like recommend for, the average person to do
It's
for good
so for
well-being?
me, it's just, getting like even like stretching in bed is not a bad thing. I've had to even for a lot of my clients and even friends, I'm like, you can start stretching in bed. You don't have to get out of bed to start stretching. So I have them doing like happy baby in bed. I'm bringing, doing pigeon in bed. You can do all these simple poses. Just get the hips rolling out, do some light twists, reaching from side to side, bringing the legs up in the air, shaking them out. It's just really getting the body awake with you instead of just hopping out of bed and going. It's, no, you needed a second or two to wake up from the alarm. Give your body a second or two to, wake up too and, help it out with some stretches.
Hmm. You know something, as we grow older, right? It feels like the body tends to like deteriorate, like we feel the wear and tear from
Oh,
over
yeah.
the years much more, right? And then it feels like there's beginning to be a disconnect between the mind and the body. Because it feels like your mind is working faster than the body can carry you.
Mm-hmm. It is.
So
Hey, we're all limited edition. There ain't no replacement parts. So you got to take care of your equipment. That's all I'm saying.
I saw something on the physio's Instagram page. It was like, you're not old, you're just not stretching. Because
Yeah.
a lot of people say, oh, it comes with old age, my body. But then, when you stretch, like you will feel younger.
Oh, yeah.
But like, how does your work, fit in, or would I say, yeah? How does your work, have a handshake with the work that the physios and the chiropractors do?
So, for scope of work, chiropractors, they can do adjustments.
Hmm.
Licensed massage therapists are not allowed to do adjustments here in the state of Nevada. So I can stretch, I can twist, and if we get a release, we get a release, amazing. But I'm not stretching or twisting the body to the point where I'm trying to force an adjustment. And then when it comes to PTs, it's very similar work to what we do, to what I do. And because PTs can't order images, they can't prescribe. So with that, I'm within scope of work with the certificates and the licensings that I have. But that's for me, that's the reason why when it comes to like my continuing education, I don't push off for the free continuing education credits, or I don't pick the little courses of how clean is your equipment. No, I put myself through the ringer, and I'm studying things year round. Like I'll read clinical trials, I'll message some of my PTs, my mentors, and I'll message like, hey, is there anything you recommend I read or I start looking into? And I'm a little bit of a nerd that way. If I don't understand or don't know the why, I'm going to do what I can to find it out.
Mm, fantastic, fantastic. It's always good to do your own personal research because you know academics will just give you the general, right, broad base, but doing your personal research combined with continuous experience. Experience, they say, is the best teacher, right?
Huge,
And so
huge.
in every profession, like you get to know more by doing more.
Hmm.
There's no other way. And like since you're dealing with human beings, you have different unique experiences, right? And those unique experiences, add up to your database, and then you have, based off that experience, the ability to face more complex issues, going forward. So you learn more by doing more. But like
Always.
what are the key components of a successful recovery plan for athletes, and how do they differ from the general fitness routine?
So athletes are a different animal altogether. Expectations, training, performance. Athletes, it's their career. That's their livelihood. So it is going to be a little different. Average person goes to the gym 45 minutes to an hour and 15 for one session. And sometimes it's only 3 to 4 times a week. When it's your career, you're in the gym 3 to 4 hours a day,
Mm,
and your meals are scheduled, your sleep is scheduled, your naps are scheduled, and in between all that, you're doing media and press and trying to just spend time for yourself and your family that you have. So it's really different on how I would say we need to do stretching recovery work, the mindfulness. My biggest thing with the athletes, not only when I have them doing a lot of focusing on stretching and foam rolling, is mental clarity. It's like get off your phone, get away from any other distraction in the house, and either play, music or get into a quiet area and just have a conversation with yourself. What do you
mm.
want to work on this week? What do you see as a low point? What is something that was a high point? What's something you want to look into? Just have a conversation with yourself. You're a person. It's nothing crazy, it's nothing mad, but it's just being able to. I see so many fighters get frustrated because they don't feel like they have the correct outlets, but also when you're trying to make the time and space for them and you're like, well, what's really going on? They can't even put it down in words because they haven't even had that conversation with themselves, but it's
Wow,
building.
having a conversation with yourself.
Hmm. And you would honestly, more athletes do it than you think. They do it when they meditate. They do it when they journal.
Hmm.
It's finding an outlet that works for you. But those are the guys that, what I've noticed, when you are not only physically at peak performance, when you are mentally at peak performance, that is a dangerous person.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
when you can switch your mental state, just like a light up and down, on and off, it's insane. But you're geared in to do that. And I've seen some fighters where, they're doing their walkouts, their warm ups, and they're chilled and relaxed. They get in the ring or the octagon, and they just seem nice and cool, and hey, that's awesome, and that works for them. But then I see other fighters who are the most humblest, sweetest things that can be, and you're just like, how are you a fighter? How are you punching somebody or kicking somebody? And then the moment the gear kicks in, it's like a switch. It's a whole nother
It's
persona, whole
a
nother
different
vibe, whole
beast.
nother atmosphere. Yeah. But that level, being able to get there and do that is huge. because now you're not only secure in who you are, it's a mind game for the person across from you because you figured out something more. They're playing checkers and you're playing chess.
Chess.
That's why I always say build your mental capacity. My biggest thing when I was a kid is, oh my God, my dad. When I grew up, I was always super close with my dad, and it kind of switched as I gotten older, and I'm trying to do more self-care. And so I've been getting closer with my mom a lot more. But as a kid, my dad hated hearing from us, or maybe not hated, just disliked it when we said, I don't know. And I find
No,
myself now getting older. I don't like hearing that from my patients, from my clients, from my fighters, from
you have
anybody.
to know
I don't
something.
know.
I don't like it either.
Yeah,
At
it's
least
like
make an
it's
attempt. Try.
yeah, make an attempt, something.
Say
And
so.
like for me, like I tell people all the time, I don't like problems, but I love solutions, and that's my biggest thing. It's like it's like people always want to fixate on like the negative thing, and people, it's I'm not a fan of any of that. I want to pull anybody out of negative as much as I can. I try and do what I can to just bring the positive spin on it, the positive aspect. Look, because if you don't have that, spiraling happens so easily. And you can get into a bad place with that.
So you were talking about, having conversations with yourself, and that's a very big part of mindfulness.
Hmm.
However, I was, hesitating with, what I was trying to say because cultures are different, across the
Oh,
world.
very.
I'm from Africa, and where I come from, Nigeria. There's this little joke that goes around that, the beginning of madness is when people start talking to themselves.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So like when you start talking to yourself, a lot of people start perceiving it as, oh, this guy is having mental health
Well, if you're
problems.
like doing it all day, every day, and like you're like, just carrying on full on, and you're responding, and then, yeah, that's different. But when you're setting aside like 15 minutes of time to be like, what the hell happened today, man? That's healthy. Okay. Again, too much of anything, not good for you.
You know, you know, where I come from, in Yoruba they will say, "Abo rala, abo meaning can't you see your family member? Like meaning he's running mad. So they'll associate the person with you, like that's your family member and your relative is running mad. You should go check on it.
Oh my God, I love it.
So in terms of like the cultural differences, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because for me, I'm quite open-minded. I absorb scientific, techniques towards achieving, better physical and better mental well-being. Because over time, uh okay, a lot of people in the media space do not realize that I'm actually a finance professional. So like what you guys call a CPA in the
Mhm.
US, right, is what I am. I'm a chartered accountant, right? So yeah, rose through the ranks, worked with the big four accounting firms, but I realized something, right, that at the earlier part of my life, right, I was focusing more on building my mind, studying. I did a lot of research, studied a lot, earned a university degree, professional degree, you know, learning and learning and learning. But over time, as I grew older, I discovered that the mind is very sharp, right? But the body was declining, right? And in order to be a person of peak performance, you need to have a synergy, a handshake between the mind and the body. The body and the mind need to clasp
Mhm.
as
100%.
though you're going for a takedown in MMA. So if there is that disconnect between, the sharpness of the body and the sharpness of the mind, you can have, proper, well-rounded well-being. And I know you would agree with that, right?
Oh, yes,
So
100%.
for the viewers at home, right, what's your advice, in terms of achieving, for the average person, how do you achieve that handshake, that synergy between the mind and the body in order to live, a proper, well-rounded, life of well-being?
Well, I don't think there's one right way of doing it, but I think a good starting point with it is just, do you know who you are and do you know what you want? Those are huge things that I know a lot of people still my age can't answer. They're still
How
finding
do you know?
themselves. I'm 39, I'll be 40 next year.
Oh, wow, wow. So you're older than me by I'm 32 anyways.
Yeah.
You're on the upper end of the continuum. I'm on the lower end of the lower end of the range. But you know something? That nice, nice. It's cool. You're 39, right?
Mhm.
Now, for me, when I reached 30, right, I started, thinking about a lot of things in my life. Like, okay, where did the 20s go? Where did the 20s go? Like, you've been 39 now. Are you also
Oh, I've
thinking about
lived.
where did the 30s go?
See, it's funny, like I've been having this conversation quite a bit throughout the last few weeks, like either with randomly students at the gym or some clients. Because like 40, I guess, is like a big achievement, and like I'll be that
Mm-hmm.
next year. I've
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed getting older. I
Mm.
really have. Like I had a fake ID, so I was going to clubs and I shouldn't have been going to clubs. And like we were all in our 20s, but the thing is, it's like my age group, we got to go and have fun without Facebook Live, Instagram Live. Instagram wasn't even a thing, so it wasn't Facebook. MySpace barely was going. So you still had secrecy, you still
Organic
had
interactions.
privacy. Yes, exactly. You could just meet people and people knew how to talk and look at each other in the eye. But we were also kind of broke back then too, so you're kind of limited. You're like, hey, we can't go out this weekend. We're going out next.
Young, dumb,
And
and
like,
broke.
yeah, exactly. And like, yeah, in my 30s, I'm like building my career. My career's going great, making more money, but you're still changing and like adapting through life. So, some friends have gone, some relationships have gone, things come to an end, you're regrowing and going. And I'm like, but I have more money now and my career's stable. And the things that used to stress me out don't stress me out anymore. Oh my God, my parents, two of one of the like just great people all together. And I just think of them as a unit, just one whole. But I was like growing up, we didn't grow up in the best of financial circumstances. But the thing is, and like when I tell people that, I'm like, I'm happy I grew up the way I grew up. I didn't know we were strapped for cash and things weren't so great because my parents made living amazing. They kept us active and out of the house and doing things. And, we're always doing activities as a family. We weren't tied up in phones. And then it's like you appreciate when you can make money and how that money came about. So as I got into my 30s, and I'm like, my biggest thing, I think it was my 32nd birthday, was like, I never want to have to check my bank account to see if I can buy something. I never want to have to say next paycheck. And I never want to say I'm living paycheck to paycheck. And by the time I turned 33, that was 100% done.
Wow,
And
that's
it's
really proud of you.
nice to be able to do that. Yeah, to be like to go out with friends, and my friends are the same way. And we all have different careers. Some of us are within the same realm. A good friend of mine, she's a PR director for the PFL. My brother Richie, he's an amazing real estate agent here in Las Vegas. And my one of my best friends and my coach owns Andrada Muay Thai. And all these people went from such a low one percentage of what we're going to do, what's our success rate, and we did it. And there's no competition, but there's healthy support and push, which is amazing. I have good news to share, and they celebrate more than I do. And
Yeah.
it's
Positive
yeah, it's
energy.
like in my 20s, I felt any good news I was going to share was going to be competition or shot down. And then
Mm-hmm.
now in my 30s, it's like you surround yourself with people that are just, supportive, and you got an amazing friendship base. Like I always tell people, you have a ton of friends in your 20s,
Mm-hmm.
and then that reduces down in your 30s. And it's reduced so much more down for me, where it's like the quality of time that I have with my friends and my family now mean that much more. But also something that I've learned within the last 2 years, my alone time with myself, my shutdown time away from clients, friends, fighters, family. That takes 100% priority. And I love it. So many people like question it from time to time, again, why I'm single, but I love my alone time. I love just hanging out and being with my dogs. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like, I don't want to
just
people.
being on your own,
Yes,
processing your
exactly.
own thoughts, right? Like it has happened to me as well. And some people do not like it, but you need it for your own sanity. That's
For
what I
sure.
think. And
And like I have a weird habit. It's well I think it's normal, but like I can go long periods of time without talking, like insane amount of periods of time. Like
hmm
I did a retreat years ago, almost like a decade now, and it was a silence retreat. And if you
oh,
broke silence, you could still stay within the retreat. You were just separated from the group, and the people that were still in the silence thing stayed together. We were allowed to journal every other outlet we had, but talking. I was the me and one other guy were the only two people out of 27 that completed this whole thing through and through. I didn't say anything for 11 days. And it was the best thing in the world.
whoa! And you did not cough, you did not sneeze.
Oh, you can't help certain things. You can sneeze. If you sneeze, you sneeze.
Well, you
But
broke the
no
silence.
talking. No talking. And it's awesome. But the thing is, it's like I'll still, like, I don't mean to, but I can sit like with friends and on the couch. And I have some friends that'll do it with me. And we can spend the whole Saturday together watching fights. And no one has said a damn word the whole time. And it's the best feeling when you can do that with people.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Speaking of watching fights, right? Like a
Hmm.
lot of people where I come from are not like fans of MMA, and me deciding to take up MMA as my preferred number one sport kind of like
Hmm.
pushed me into some sort of loneliness, because when you're watching the fight, you're like, why are you watching violence? Like this guy's just an abnormal human being. So you have to watch it on your own. It's wonderful having people around, but the thing is, I'm a nerd of the UFC. So regardless of whether people around or not, I've learned to enjoy my own company and watch it on my own, because
Yeah, I'm the same
just
way.
it's
And
my
then
own
like,
personal
and then I'll
research.
order the more expensive pizza too if I'm by myself.
This is, it's just so wonderful. But like I thought about something. In the 20s, you feel more energetic, right? You feel stronger, right? You have the potential to have more adventure, but
Hmm.
you're limited financially.
Hmm.
But your 30s, right? You make more money. I've made more money in my 30s, right? But I discovered that, like I have like limited time and limited energy to be able to expend the resource. So it feels like a
But
trade-off.
then with
When
that,
you have more
you
money, you have less
also,
time.
when you have more money, you have less time, yes.
Yeah.
But then how you spend that time means that much more.
Yes, because time becomes more important to you in your 30s. Like in your 20s, you can spend your time doing, just anything. It felt like, time was limitless. You always feel
Oh,
like you
yeah.
have time in your 20s. When you're 30s, you discover that,
Yeah, I
yeah.
would give anything for 4 more hours in a day. I really would. I really would. Because like I tell people, it's not like I want to be less busy. It's not that I don't want to do the things that I'm doing. It's I just need more time to be able to do it in. I am very happy with my life and my lifestyle. I manage Andrada Muay Thai, which is a locally owned and run Muay Thai gym here in Las Vegas. It's one of the
Fantastic.
biggest, most successful. The owner's amazing. If you're ever in Vegas, please come take a class and just experience Jason Andrada. One of the most
Definitely.
amazing human beings ever. I'm so thankful to have found him as a coach, as a friend, and he is family to me. So I get to manage his gym, and I've been doing that for years, a little over 7 now. And then I've been running my company and doing those things. And I get to wake up and do what I want to do each day and interact with the people that I choose to interact with. And
Mhm.
these are like huge wins every day that I get to wake up to. And those are the things that I try and focus on. But yeah, getting in my 30s, I appreciate those things more. And like things that I thought were super important when I was in my 20s or doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
I used to be, and like, oh, Can we cuss on the podcast? I always like to ask because I'm horrible with it. I've been
Okay,
trying really hard.
you got a free pass.
So like in my 20s, I was such an asshole.
Whoa.
It was like, yeah, we all go through those stages. But in my 20s, I was an asshole when it came to my self-care, my time. And I wouldn't tell my friends no. So when my friends wanted to go, okay, I'm going. I didn't
Hmm.
know how to say no. I didn't know how to do boundaries. It was just like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? It was not good. But then also in turn with that, when I would get upset, I would get really upset. I am so not the person. No. So I've worked very hard on being a lot more patient, a lot more just like kind of let things fall by
Whoa,
the
just
wayside. Oh, yeah,
same thing
because
with
like
me.
when I
Same
was
thing
in
with
my
me.
20s, my dad was always very reaction when we were kids, and I
Yeah.
would watch that and I mimicked it. So, and it was like, and I went for, oh, yeah, I'll go for the jugular when I react back. It's not good. So I've learned to hone that and just to, it's like, it's not that important. It's not a big deal. It doesn't, that's awesome when you can do that because the
I call
stresses
it
that you had in your
artificial
20s.
patience. I call
Yes.
it artificial patience.
But it's like you learn all these things that make you a better person, but it's
Hmm.
going through those hard times. If
Hmm.
I didn't go through those hard times, if I didn't have those hurdles, I probably wouldn't be in the position I am in today. But
Hmm.
all those hurdles, I chose to accept, take on that challenge, and learn from them. So it's the approach too. And like as I've gotten older, like I tell people, I'm like, hey, I know what it's like to be in that position. So advice I can give you being the older person
Yes,
here, check
exactly.
yourself. It's like, and then especially nowadays when everybody has their phone out all the damn time, it's like you got to be careful with how you're acting in public and like what you're doing with these people, and then how's those interactions going to be seen, and it's everything gets taken out of context, and people are more sensitive and take things personally, and it's
Exactly.
just balancing. I'm like, dude, it is not that big of a deal. I'm like, tomorrow's going to be here. It's not a big deal.
Like I very, very much, would I say resonate with these things that you're saying. So for example, speaking of patience, like I used to be short-tempered, as a teenager growing up. And, over time you just mature.
Hmm.
And I think even like working as a professional, right, also sort of put me in check, right? Over time, I started learning to express, artificial patience. And at some point, I think I started getting feedback from a few people saying, "Oh, I like how calm and how patient you are." And I'm like, "Whoa, are you talking about me?" That was what was on my mind. I'm like, "Is this person describing me?"
Hmm.
No, no, no. You don't want to know who I am. But over time, it started becoming the real me, and I discovered that you are experiencing a transformation
Hmm.
of your personality, right? From the 20s to the 30s, you become, more measured in your approach to risks as well, right?
Hmm.
You become a more calculated person, right? You have been through a lot of experiences, so you have a lot of been there, done that, right? A lot of things
Yeah.
that would probably make you excited, in your 20s are no, are no longer a big issue. And, one thing, okay, two things I want to point out real quick, right? I think would likely resonate with you is, when I was in my 20s, right? Because we didn't have much money. And yeah, I'll gist you something. There was this, fine girl, this model, I was dating back in my 20s. And then the girl said something that really hurt me. She was like, "Oh, you're just a fine boy, you don't have money." I'm like, "What?"
Mhm. Women are bad, man. We go for
You're just a
jugular. It's
fine,
so bad.
you're just a fine boy, you don't have money. Like it really hurt my feelings at the time.
Mm.
But over time, when I started making money, right, you just have that confidence that, yeah, I can food, anything basic, except if this girl wants extraordinary, right? And
Yeah.
it's different for males and females, because for a male it
Oh, for
hurts that
sure.
your manly ego, right? But girls will always make you feel like you are not, the top G because you can't afford to buy certain things, you can't do certain things, or sometimes you try to maybe be like the Joneses, right? By buying certain things, right? Even though you can't really afford them, right?
Hmm.
But for me, I've always been this person who's all about function, right? I wouldn't buy the latest iPhone just because everybody's buying it. I use an iPhone 14. I'm okay with it. Like it's not broken. I like smaller phones. I don't like the iPhone Pro Max, the
Oh yeah,
iPhone
no. And
Pro
like
or
that doesn't
something.
even fit in my
I
pocket.
like this I like the small one. The small one, right?
Yeah.
As
Same
long as it
small.
fits, you know,
Like it fits in my hand. Yeah.
and like over time, you start discovering that you're going for things that you like, right? Not things that people want you to have
Hmm.
as a function of status, right? So over time, I discovered that as you go older, you make more money, you get more self-confidence, and you embark on a journey of self-discovery. So your taste, your fashion, your choices, right, are based off what you want, what you like personally, even if other people don't like it.
Oh yeah. 100%. 100%. It's like we're constantly growing and evolving that way too. It's like the things that I wanted when I was 18 are like some of them are meaningless completely now and or
Hmm.
non-existent. So it's like, yeah, as I've gotten older, life's just gotten better.
Hmm.
It's you build those confidence, you know how to set boundaries, you know how to value people and time, and but that also in turn, I don't like wasting people's time. So it's when
Yeah.
I'm very straightforward and direct.
Hmm.
And a lot of people don't like that, or it's not something they're comfortable with, which I'm fine with. Like I tell people, I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and that's fine. And
Do
it's not a big
you
deal.
see? Do you see what's written in my background? Right. It says
No,
things to remember. Things to remember. Tomorrow is a new day. Making mistakes is part of life. Not everyone has to like you.
yeah, yeah,
Not everyone has
exactly.
to like you. Keep an optimistic attitude. Beauty and strength come from within.
I love that. I
Thank
love
you.
that.
You're aligning with the philosophies. You're aligning. That's why you're my sister from Peru. Whoa. And yeah, the next thing I want to talk about is accepting yourself. I think
Mhm.
for me, like when I was getting close to 30, I discovered that I had accepted myself. Because when you're younger, people probably make you feel bad because you have certain weaknesses or you have certain strengths that make them feel intimidated.
Mhm.
They want you to be in a particular way. People like to put people in boxes, right?
Yeah, categories. Yeah.
Categorize, yeah, yeah, they like to categorize you. So if you don't fit into a proper category, right, they'll see you as a misfit, right?
Hmm.
But over time, as you start to accomplish things that are meaningful to you and become financially independent, right, I feel like you begin to accept yourself and appreciate yourself. But at what point did you discover that you started accepting and appreciating yourself?
Wow, that's a good question. I really want to say it was more like 25, 26 when I started getting like looking more into like the self-care and taking care of myself. I always had older friends, so I was always thankful to get advice from them and things that they went through. And they're like, oh, hey, wait in 5 years when you're going through this, or this pops up and this, these things happen. And so I always felt like I had the one up on that because I had the environment and everybody was giving me the tools. It was up to me to make the decision to utilize those tools. And really knowing it was like the biggest thing, the takeaways that I've had with even like I tell people like I work with therapists, like I see a therapist and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there should be a stigma around it. Sometimes it's just nice to talk to somebody that has no idea who you are and what's happened around you as a
Exactly.
completely unbiased opinion. And that's like, hey, let me guide you in this little way. Or, hey, did you look at it from this point of view? And I even talked to like a performance coach, like a life coach. And it's awesome to be able to do that business wise. But asking the questions, which really helped me, it's like, what do you want? What do you need? And what are you willing to negotiate on? Those are huge things that I think a lot of people don't apply when it comes to work or personal life, and even like in all sense relationships, your friendships, your relationships with your parents, with your partner. It's what do you need from the
Want
person
what you
across
need.
from you? What do you want? Very two different things.
Yeah, wants and
What's
needs are different.
negotiable? Yeah, want and need are
Negotiable.
very different and they weigh very different. A lot of people interchange those a lot. And then what's a hard no? And those are your boundaries. But the biggest thing with that too, it's like I tell people, and going back to, how the girl in your 20s hurt your feelings by making that comment about your looks over your financial status.
Hmm.
What I'm getting now on the opposite sex side, I'm a successful woman who is financially capable. I'm super independent.
Hmm.
And I like being alone. So when a guy enters that lifestyle, I 100% know it's not easy because men in general, and I 100% understand it, like to feel needed and wanted. There's the mixture too. We're human. Women want to feel wanted. The same thing. But when I don't need you and you are a choice to want to have you, that's them still developing. Yeah, I rather that than that.
And that is a very big test of character as a
Oh,
male.
huge,
Yeah,
huge.
so for me, that kind of situation has happened to me before, right? So I've seen this girl. She was richer than me, well advanced, career wise than me, right? But she told me something like, I admire something about you, right? You're like pretty much the first guy who have been around, right? And is not intimidated by the success that I have. I'm like, you need to know yourself, right? Money does not define who you are. And I think a lot of people need to separate, their knowledge of self from the material things around them,
Hmm.
right? You can take my bank account away from me. You can take, the physical assets I have from me, but I am still me. I know who I am. I have my
You
self-worth intact, right?
you
Because
have
these
value.
things, yeah, these things are ephemeral. These things, I feel they can come, they can go. But who are you without, the material things of life, right? So I think at some point, you know, people need to discover this thing because there's a difference between confidence and ego, right?
Mhm.
Confidence is internal and ego is external. Ego is, a sense of self-worth that is built around, what you have, right? Like things change. I've been in a relationship wherein, okay, when we started, I was earning more than the girl. At some point, the girl had a promotion. She started earning more than me. So, okay, does that mean that she's now a bigger person, better person than me? Right? Then at some point in my career, I got another promotion. I started earning more than her again. So I think that situation sort of like helped me build character, right? Like the fact that a person is, richer than you does not mean that they are better than you, right?
Exactly.
You are a human being with value, right? And if you can provide the basics as a guy, fine. You show leadership, right? The way you lead yourself, the way you care, the way you are there for the person. That's enough, judging yourself based off, oh, this girl is, and I hate it when, guys feel like, oh, a particular girl is out of their league. Like, no way. No girl is out of my league, bro.
And,
I'm in the
and the funny
Champions
thing
League.
is, it's like when I hear that comment, it's funny because when I hear that comment the most, I'm like, you haven't even talked to her. I'm like,
Like,
you haven't even talked to her. Like, I
why?
hear that
I
comment so
haven't
much. Like,
either.
the guy, I know she's out of your league. Don't even talk to her. I'm like,
No, I
why?
hate
You
it.
don't even know
I
what she
hate
has to offer.
I hate it.
No, it's so bad.
So I can very, very much understand, when, you talking about being on that end of the continuum, right? You're established, right? And
Hmm.
guys feel like, oh, you're not needed. Everybody needs affection. Everybody needs someone to talk to. Everybody needs, somebody to show them care. Everybody needs love, right? Everybody needs, companionship, direction, leadership, collaborations, right? So why would you look at yourself as less just
Mhm.
because this girl is earning more than you? Now, I remember money is only temporary, right?
Yeah.
Tomorrow you could be the one earning more than her. So it's only temporary, right?
Yeah.
So your sense of self-worth should not be, anchored, or attached to the material things of life. That's my own philosophy, and that's what has helped me, be able to successfully interact with people, right? Regardless of whether you're richer than me or poorer than me or at the same level with me, you're a human being like me, right? And I want to interact with the human being in you, not the money, not the cars, not your business, not, whatever it is that you've been able to put together. Because, I've seen people rise and fall, right,
Hmm.
in life. So it's very difficult to build, but whatever you think you have built can come crashing. We
Oh
saw
yeah.
we saw that we saw that with the financial meltdown, in
Oh
'07,
yeah.
'08. You see very big, organizations crashing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so some people tend to now commit suicide because they feel like, oh, I've lost all my wealth, right?
Yeah.
You
They
can always
lost
rebuild.
their wealth was their way they defined their value. It's not the way to be thinking.
Yeah, so it's not a good way to think. Like, do not define yourself by the wealth, right? But I think like it's difficult finding people with that, genuine confidence. And I think with age, you now want to like tend to just let me just keep to myself because I already enjoy my own my own space.
I enjoy my own space, my time, my dog.
I can understand, right? Now, let's talk about the misconceptions about recovery. I had Francis Ngannou's coach, on the last episode, right? Dewey Cooper. Dewey Cooper. Dewey's an old school guy, right?
Yeah,
I
he's
think he's
awesome.
he's going to probably disagree with you on certain things,
Oh yeah,
Speaking of
100%.
speaking of the pain barrier, there's that common saying, no pain, no gain. So
Yeah.
how does that mentality affect the athletes and why is it outdated?
Well, it's an old school thing. It's an old school thing that was said. But again, like I tell people, it's the context and the variable. No
Hmm.
pain, no gain. What's the tact? Are we conditioning the body? Are we having fighters sparring with people that are same height, same weight, and we are conditioning the body to go into it? So then, yeah, we can apply the no pain, no gain within a controlled state. Now, if their breathing is erratic, they're physically saying, this is really bugging me, it's nagging me. And that, what I've noticed, are key things fighters will say when it's really something bigger than what they thought it was. Those are the things we need to listen to. Because I've seen fighters that have gotten injured during training camps, and the coach is like, no pain, no gain. Stop acting like a baby. You're being a baby. It's like, no, hey, just listen.
Yeah, I
Just
pushed
ask the
through the pain.
question. Yeah, push through the pain. And I'm like, I'll ask you the people. Oh, I stubbed my toe, and I was like, do you need to take a rest? And I'm like, no, I'm just letting you know. Okay, let's keep going. Communicate, use your words, but the no pain, no gain could actually lead to more injury, more issues. Like I tell people, it's like the littlest thing has a ripple effect. So it may, just because no bones are showing and no blood is pouring out, doesn't mean it's in something that we should acknowledge. We have to look at all these things, but there's a time and a place for it for sure. But it is an old school method, but things are always changing and adapting. And if you're not willing to go with that and keep an open mind and look at those things and see how you could apply it within your own coaching tactics, you're kind of limiting your growth. And then in that turn, you're going to limit your fighters.
But let me play devil's advocate here and let me play the advocate of the old school guys, right? So they feel like that helps you to build, more resilience, especially that mental resilience if you're able to persevere, you know, and push through the pain. But you definitely are on the other side, you are a scientist, you are a recovery coach, right? So it will be more on the physio's point of view. So what do you think about, the resilience that is built with, pushing through and performing through injuries?
I gotta look through like the type of injury too. Like, are we dealing with an injury to the hand that, there's injuries we can work around, we can train around. So we're pushing through the pain that way. We're not going to utilize that item and damage it more, but we can utilize the rest of the body and keep going. But yeah, no, I've seen, like I tell people, not everybody is cookie cutter. Just because one thing worked for somebody doesn't mean it's going to work for the next person. You have to adapt styles to how your fighters learn, how they perceive, how they absorb, how they reflect, and some fighters are more emotional. Some are better with just tell me what to do and then I'll do it. It's like you have to adapt with those ways. So the no pain, no gain, there's a time and a place for it. There's training around it, but there's learning communication style too. That's my biggest thing. It's like I've seen coaches take on fighters and fighters communicate one way, the coach communicates another way, and no one's communicating well with each other on how and what's best. So it's just getting on the same page, like, hey, what do you need from me as your coach? And then what do I need from you as my fighter? And then you build that line from there.
Mm.
But no, there's times where I've been in the gym too, where my fighters are, I feel like they're being babies. And I'm like, just keep pushing, push through, suck it up, let's go. Time and a place for it. Oh, yeah, no.
Whoa.
But here's my thing. But this is always my thing. Like I tell people, I will never ask anything of you that I haven't put myself.
Okay.
And I've put myself through the ringer on a lot of things. So it's like it's in no way is it like a check to yourself, but it's like, hey, you're not doing anything none of us have ever had. We've all done it. As
Mm.
coaches, we have, and then even being older, we've done it in probably worse stages and states and environments. But it's like I tell people, it's some things you got to push through and some things you just got to communicate so we understand where you're at and we can see what level we could push through it to.
Yeah, that's like a controlled approach
Mhm.
towards it. Yeah, and of course, sort of like being risk neutral, you need to assess the risk appropriately and
Yeah,
know if it's safe, right, to
exactly.
continue or to discontinue. I like that. So like, are there like other misconceptions that you've encountered, with the recovery and pain management in the combat sports community?
I'm sorry, the last part broke up a little bit. So sorry.
Like other misconceptions, that you have encountered in the area of recovery and pain, in combat sports.
Taking it easy. That's one of the biggest things that people say when they get like, oh, my doctor told me to take it easy. My physician told me to take it easy. And I'm like, nope, not, we need to move. How many times I've had either like a fighter got swept, a takedown was done wrong, or their ankle just rolled the wrong way and they want to rest it right away. I'm like, nope, we are putting a band on it. I'm cutting off circulation, blood flow restriction, and we are walking around the room. We are walking slowly, but we are walking with purpose and we are moving. So it's like the biggest misconception a lot of times is, oh, you need a rest, you need to take time out. But those words on a fighter whose career or an athlete that their career relies on their output, those words are detrimental. You need to rest, you need to take time off. It's like, no, we need to, this is a factor, this is what's going on, this is an injury, but these are things that we can do to work around this. I want solutions instead of an additional problem. Sending a fighter home who needs to train 3 to 4 hours a day to zero training, that's a shock not only to the body, but to the mental state. Their
Mm,
training is their outlet. It's their time to be selfish and refocus and get some clarity and not think about a million different things throughout the day.
mm,
So to take that away, that's another thing that is detrimental.
mm.
So it's always
Interesting.
workarounds. Yeah.
Well, so like each fighter is different, right?
Hmm.
And each fighter has their own styles, and that's why they say styles make fights, right? But how do you design a recovery plan, right, specific to an athlete? And what are the factors that you consider in creating, a specific plan for a fighter?
So with that, depending on the level where they're at in their career, I'll discuss with their coaches or them like what their training schedule is. If it's consistently throughout the week, is it a set schedule? And then through that, how are they eating? How many calories are they inputting? Are they even eating enough? Because sometimes, a large majority of the time, male fighters undereat quite a bit. They're very paranoid about their weight. So then on top of that, it's another variable that I have to consider. Am I seeing them when they're completely fasted after a workout? Different states, different bodies, there's all these variables that I take into consideration. So with that, like I'll go through like an assessment. I want to see how they're moving. I'll watch a lot of their fight tapes. I'll go to some of their trainings and I want to see how they're moving, different to how the fights are. And then from there I can take little things, my little I obsess on how the body moves and I'll let them know, hey, I saw this during this time. I saw this. Is this something feeling a little tight? Are you having pain? Is this restrictive? And a lot of times the answer is, I'm not that flexible, so that's how I work around it. I'm like, okay, no problem. So we'll address that. So I'll cater to things where they feel tight, what's weaker for them in regards to their training and what their experience is as well. And then from there, we develop a plan on what is actual realistic and where we eventually want to get to.
Oh, wow. So this is a lot of research. You put in a lot of research into these, and big respect to you. Like, big respect to you for the great work that you put into this. It is no joke. This is hours and hours, of work that goes into studying, right?
Mhm.
For just a session that lasts for
An hour.
minutes or an
Yeah.
hour.
An
But people
hour,
don't see,
sometimes 90 if I'm lucky. 2 hours is
wow,
normally ideal for the amount of talking we do.
wow. But people don't see the efforts that go in, right? But
Oh,
as
yeah.
you're talking, as we're talking about the movements, within fights and outside of fights, I just remembered UFC 308, Chris Barnett versus Kennedy Nzechukwu. Did you see that fight where Chris
Yeah.
Barnett was jumping and like what happened there? Like he had this injury with his leg just off jumping when Bruce Buffer was introducing him. I'm like, what the hell? What
Yeah.
happened to you,
So,
bro?
like, again, I don't know if he had an injury before. None of us really know if he had any injury during camp. I think he had a knee injury years back, but I'm not sure if it was even on the same side. And again, different variables. Was he warmed up properly? Did he
Mm,
refuse to warm up properly? Did he do his own stretching? Did somebody stretch him out? Was he dehydrated? It's like there's all
a
these
lot of
different
factors.
factors. Because, yeah, trust me, I got a lot of messages when that happened. What happened? What happened? I'm like,
Whoa!
guys, there's so many
Not
variables.
only me.
Yeah, so many variables. But
Whoa.
like for me, I don't have any cartilage left in either of my knees. And I'm still training when I can, still sparring when I can, still doing all my movements in. But with that in mind,
How?
I know, well, I learned. I learned to strengthen all the muscles around my knee so my knee was more protected. I'm
Will it
smart.
will it be will it be safe to scratch,
Yeah.
the nickname Panda and call you the Peruvian gangster? Because
The-
this this is what gangsters are made of. Whoa!
Yeah. So yeah, it wasn't fun when it first started happening as a kid. It was a lot. It's very painful when you lose the cartilage between your knees and you got bone on bone. But I learned to strengthen it, did a lot of training with it. I still lift heavy when I can. But like so with the Chris Barnett, him jumping that way, depending if he's dehydrated, if he wasn't warmed up properly, or if he didn't warm up properly himself, because again, you can only place blame on so many people. You still have to take ownership for the actions on your team. He could have just been cold going in. And when he went to do the jump, the knee wasn't supporting him. That's happened to actually me before, not in a fight, but when I was training in between rounds, I want to say we had already gone almost like an hour into sparring rounds, and my body took a big energy dump. Like I didn't have enough glucose in my system. I had no more energy. I had already gone pale. And then I went to just do some quick like jumps to kind of just, get myself going. And then all of a sudden my knee just buckled and I'm like, you gotta be shitting me. And yeah, And it just happens sometimes. Like Ortega did it when he jumped up in the octagon before his fight. He rolled his ankle a little bit too. And it
Yeah,
just happens sometimes. But the thing
sucks.
is, what I noticed in the fight is everyone caught that on the intro. But when he went to do the spinning kick to the head, if you notice, and I looked at it a few times because after I got so many, yeah, I went back after the fights. Even yesterday, I re-looked at some of his clips. His foot doesn't rotate all the way through.
Whoa.
So the knee that he injured on that jump, and he goes, that's his base leg when he goes for the head kick, doesn't rotate all the way through. So now a joint that was already inflamed and upset at him just got locked up one more time. And then that's when he just went back.
That's in the Diego Lopez fight?
No, not the Ortega Diego Lopez. This is going back to Barnett. So you know how when he
Okay.
jumped up and the knee buckled, when Barnett goes for the head kick, his
Hmm.
leg stops. It doesn't rotate all the way through.
Oh
And
yeah, the
it
head
was,
kick. Yeah, against
yeah, I
I
was
did
just
see
like,
that,
oh
and
my gosh,
he does that often. He likes that
I
head
know.
kick
But if you've
and his
seen his other
shots.
ones, though, he's so much fun to
Uh,
watch. Though I love this guy.
and his
I
honest
was so looking
assaulted
forward. I was
with his big belly. I'm
He's
like,
like, yeah,
bro.
he's unique, and I love him for it. It's awesome. But yeah, with the Barnett fight, it was funny because it was me, my girlfriend Tawny. We were here watching the fights, and we're like getting ready to watch him. We're getting all excited, amped, and he's his energy. You're feeding off of his energy, and we're watching, and he goes for the head kick, and then that fucking steps back, and he starts taking hits, and we're both screaming, no, no, no,
No
because we
way.
wanted him to win. It's just he does not move like he is that size. And I love that. I love when people keep people guessing. And he's always been that way. And but yeah, if you watch his previous any previous fights where he throws that head kick, because he's done it quite a bit, he does full rotation on each one.
Yeah,
This fight, if you watch it,
seen it
it jammed
quite
up.
over time.
It said nope, and he was done. It's just it sucks when
Mama
that
Jama.
happens. Yeah.
Whoa, coming from the female David Goggins. You and David Goggins are bone on bone, and I wonder how you guys keep going
Hey,
because
I don't
the
run the pavement.
knee.
I hate running. I'll tell you this. I tell all my fighters the same thing. I hate running. I don't run. I did it with
So
soccer, did it
how do you do your
um cardio, drilling, so I'll spar, I do bag work, rowing. I like the rower. I'll do the skiing machine or swimming, but outside of that, yeah, I don't like running. I don't run unless I'm being chased. And if you're faster than me, I'm going to trip you, so you're good.
whoa? I see. You're smart, right? So there are different ways to skin a cat, right? So you're finding other ways to get the cardio in. Wow,
Yes.
that's
Well, because too,
that's
you
a
gotta
smart person
understand
right there.
now I have to work around an injury. I don't have cartilage. So pounding the pavement is not good for knees. And it's not going to be good for my ankles or my hips because that tension's going to be taken off on those areas because there's no cartilage on the knee. So with that, I always go for everything that's less impact.
So how does someone like David Goggins, keep going, with the running thing?
I don't know. Some people are just those one percenters. Some people are. Some people, it's genetics. It could be any other, recovery supplementation that they could be doing. But some people just go through it. And I've seen like movie stars even say the same way that they don't have to train that hard because they're just naturally lean in physique and they put on muscle well. And yeah, it's like great that you can do that, and I have to do all these things. That's awesome. But yeah, those one percenters do exist. Yeah, it's like
Yeah, I think the genetics matter as well.
it's huge, huge. Diet too, from when you're a kid, how people grew up, all that stuff impacted, and to a certain extent too. It's not one. There's no game plan that you can share for one person that everyone can copy because everyone's unique, and it's you can apply certain aspects of it, but the approaches could be different, and it's those are all things we need to like take the measuring on. And when you're looking at the like the one percenters, it even applies not only necessarily to sports and outcomes, but the mindset. There's just those people that are stoic, and
Yes.
that's a whole different thing altogether. And it works for them. And there's those people that need to express every single thing, an emotion, feeling, but then when I see that for me, impacting my environment so much, I go towards the stoic person. I appreciate silence and quality of content than the loudest person in the room being loud and obnoxious and not giving anything of context and just taking time away.
Whoa, like some people like have a very high pain tolerance threshold, and it leads me
Hmm.
to wonder like how, how? Like I personally don't like, you know, pain, and that's why I never went into competition and combat. Like I was training for taekwondo when I was in university, but when it comes to the competition, nah, no way. You're not gonna get me involved.
Some people aren't meant for hitting. And some people are meant for it. No, it's pain is a different thing. It's a different animal altogether. I 100% feel that women take pain a lot better than men, but
Yeah,
that
that is
probably
true.
isn't so healthy either. Like women that have had children, have given birth. Holy crap, man. You don't want to mess with them. They're on a whole different level of pain tolerance. It's insane to me. And men are freakishly strong. Freakishly strong. You guys are
Yeah,
it's insane. You can't put a
it's insane.
125 girl against a 125 guy. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't.
Like never. You know,
Never.
you're reaching for too much. Like put a 125 guy against a 155 girl, and you will see what will happen.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. But still, it's like, yeah, for me, it's like the pain threshold is a lot. I think there's different variables again to it. Cause it's like even for me with pain, it's I'll keep going as long as it's just in the moment. If it's not radiating and debilitating, I keep pushing. I keep pushing. Forget about it.
Y-
Mind over matter. Forget about it. Mind over matter. The whole
Yeah,
time. I'm just going that way.
and when there's adrenaline pump, like you won't even realize it that oh you're in pain until okay, when you're done with the activity, you're like, okay, so there's this injury, and then you're like, whoa, what's happening? So I get that, that does happen, but on a normal day, like no, me pain, count me out. I don't like piercings, I don't like tattoos, I don't like injections, anything to just avoid.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
That's like when I was growing up, right? Anytime they give you the option of, oh, do you want to take these pills or you want to be on this, injections? I'm like, oh no, bring the pills. I will chew them. I will eat the pills. Like, just give me the pills. I don't want injections. I don't like, anything that is painful. But over time, sometimes you just have to go through pains, especially like maybe surgeries,
Hmm.
at some point you just have to but like when it comes to improving performance, right, especially like coming back from a setback, how do you like tailor a plan, right, given a person's circumstance, because there's a mental aspect, and also there is a goal in order to improve performance. Like how do you do that for fighters in those kind of situations?
So when we're looking at situations with setbacks, I want to know the variables. Are we having to work around something and how long are we going to have to work around that? And then from there, it's also where's our fighter's mindset? Where's his head at? What does he want? And these, for me, when things like that occur, um, I'm doing check-ins with the fighters twice a day to see where they're at, especially the ones that are willing to open up and chit chat about it. I'm like, hey, where you at? What's going on today? And have that
Especially the
conversation with them.
one key,
Mm-hmm.
key. Don't worry, I'm coming back to you on that because there's a
Yeah.
name on my mind. Should I spill the beans? Should I spill the beans, or you want to keep talking?
Yeah, we'll keep talking. It's going to be interesting. But especially when they're willing to open up or you've built that relationship where you've been part of the camp or the team for a while and they just kind of need someone to talk to about it. It's a safe space. You got to create a safe space for your fighter and just, make sure you're creating best outcomes for them. When they know that your reasoning behind asking all these questions, being present is for them to have a greater good, a greater outcome, reach those goals. The team relationships are amazing. What can come out of a team, it's pretty amazing.
sorry to say this, somebody once
Hmm.
said that it is never a safe space. Anytime they say it's a safe space,
That's the one that needs a safe space.
anytime, when you work with, in offices, in corporate settings, they call you
Oh
to
yeah.
to town hall discussion, and then they say, hey, it's a safe space, express yourself. Like, no, it's never a safe space. So
The corporate world, how I don't miss that at all.
that aside, right? I was thinking about Tony Ferguson, the decline of Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson was it like an 11 fight win streak, right?
11, 12. Yeah,
Well,
11. I think
yeah,
11. 11, 12. Yeah.
yeah. Before he won, yeah, he won the interim title, interim lightweight title, during that streak, right? And of course, it
Hmm.
just ended by Justin Gaethje,
Hmm.
horrible fight, in the peak of the pandemic.
Yeah.
That fight was horrible. Abdin had to save him from himself because that
Hmm.
guy is too tough for his own good. And I feel like that fight, took a lot from him. And I feel like he was too stubborn, right? And wanted to come right back, keep trying, keep trying. So if you were to work with that kind of a fighter, right, looking at the point of the decline, what would you have done differently?
Oh, wow. That's a little bit harder to answer because, again, it's knowing what else is going on in the room, what else is going on with the coaching, personal life too. Biggest thing for me, it's like with the fighters, it's like their personal life really impacts everything that's going on because outside of training, it's just home. Now, dealing with Tony, it's finding out, it's like, what do you want out of this now? Do you want to keep going? Do you have one more amazing fight? Do you want to do this for 5 more years? What do you want to do?
He wants
And
to
is
keep going.
everybody else on board? You know what I mean? But it's like
He
those
wants
are
to
the
keep
things
going,
that
but
you
some
want.
people have
I
to be
know he does.
saved.
Some people do have to be safe, and you have to have those conversations. And it sucks because it's like when we talk about the athletic world, 36 to 39 is old. You're getting up there, especially when you got the 18 and the 19
So,
year olds performing the way they're doing. So these are things you got to take on. It's like, yes, I'm not saying you're not talented. Yes, I'm not saying that you can't perform at that level anymore, but somebody else is out doing this right now. And you're putting a lot more at risk for the years of experience that you have. Someone that's 18, unless they started super young, may have 5 to 6 years of experience. Getting hit too, if they haven't had that many fights. Someone that's 36, 34, that's been fighting since they were 15, that's 20 years of damage on your body and on your mental state, your brain, and so much recovery that you've had to do in hours. It's not you got to understand that the younger person's going to have the upper hand, and it's just a time to when someone's got to say, hey, maybe it's time we reevaluate what we need to be doing here. What is best for your future after fighting? Because if you do one more, what's going to be the outcome for that? What's going to be, the outcome?
wow. So, on a lighter note, you said 36 to 39 in the athletic world is old.
Yeah.
Does,
Shit,
does
tennis
that,
now, it's like what girls are
yeah,
going at yeah, they have 17-year-olds
does
that
that
like,
mean, does that mean that you are old and me, I'm semi-old?
oh, I'm definitely old. I admit it. I say it like all the time. I tell people I'm old. Yeah, I'm old in this world. Me going back into fighting would be stupid.
Now I want to cry. You're making me feel old.
We all get old. Yeah, it's
I am
inevitable.
young. I am young at heart,
Time. Hey, I'm making old look
Age is,
good, so I'm happy with it.
yeah. Age is just a number.
Exactly.
I, I
Exactly.
I am forever young. I don't want to hear old.
J-Lo's 50. She looks amazing. It's like there are
Hmm.
amazing athletes out there. There's people that if you take care of your body, getting old is not bad.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Like taking care of your body, self-care. But like, what are elements of self-care you'd recommend for the average person? Because a lot of people, like, I get really, really angry about this. This is something very personal to me. When it comes to males and females, right? Now, if you're in a room and guys girls, right, are talking, and then they're talking about a girl, right, that other people don't know. The first question that people tend to ask is, how does she look? Is she good
Oh yeah.
looking? What does she look like, right?
Mhm.
And that's a question for females, right? But
Mhm.
when you're talking about a guy that, some strange guy, the first question people tend to ask is, what does he do?
Yeah.
They don't ask, how does he look, right?
Yeah.
Now, there are a lot of females, right, that don't, do the bare minimum, you know, in terms of self-care. And you see a person that is 40 looking like they are 60, and like, what is happening? Like, you be with some people, and there's certain people that I probably even grew up with, right? I go out with them and they look like they're my big brothers. I'm like, what the hell is happening here? And then they're like, is that your younger brother? I'm like, no way, no way. So, like, how do you take care of yourself, right? That, you get to age like fine wine. So, you are a good example of aging like fine wine. So, please, help, help, help the masses,
Okay, yeah,
help the
it's
layman and
yeah.
the laywoman.
So yeah, this is probably gonna upset some people, which is gonna be yeah. It's my mom. I got my mom's genes. And like I really don't do that much to my skin. It's yeah, I got my mom's genes. I'm very thankful for that. My mom is 67 now and she probably just looks mid 40s. My mom's amazing and she takes amazingly well of care of herself. She eats, very lean and clean and she goes walking every day and with my dad and yeah, I just use antibacterial soap to wash my face, moisturizer, and I'm really shitty at drinking water all day, so like yeah, this is like it's so bad, like could probably
I
be
have
more
my water
hydrated.
here. I
Yeah,
have my 2-liter bottles.
I am the
That's
worst.
good
I
for
am the
me.
worst. I'm the worst with like it's like yeah, where it's practice what you preach sort of thing. Yeah, when it comes to fueling, I'm the worst at it. Like I'm more of a snacker than anything. I only have really one meal a day because I don't like eating meals between clients. And yeah, so and like my hydration's always bad. Like there's been days where I didn't even drink water. It was just energy drinks and
Whoa.
coffee because I was working so much and just trying to go through. So yeah, it's this is because of my mom. I have nothing. It's yeah, that's it. It's sorry. This is my
Whoa.
mama. There's no.
These are the these are the genetic
This is
freaks, the
genetics.
genetic cheats, right? The people who won the genetic lottery, right? My mom looks young as well. My dad looks
Yeah, my
young. They're
mom
in the
looks insanely
60s,
young, and
right?
she's just my mom. She's adorable and happy all the time, and it's just yeah, it's yeah. I got
Like
lucky.
growing up, like when people, see myself and my brothers with my dad, people used to think like, oh, it was like our uncle, or there was a day in secondary school, somebody told me, oh, your big brother is here to pick you up, and I know I'm the first child, like I don't have a big brother. And then when I got down, I saw my dad in the car, like, oh,
No,
that's my big brother. Okay,
yeah.
that's okay.
See,
Okay, that's cool. So, like when I got to London, right, in England, if you were to buy alcohol, like if they think you look less than 25, they'll get your ID checked. And it was so embarrassing. Like they always like, can I see an ID? Please? I'm like, okay, do you know I'm in my 30s now? And you're still asking for an ID? I'm like,
see in
okay.
the States. Well, I know in Nevada, if you look under 35, they still card.
So you still
Hmm.
get ID checked?
Randomly. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But then I also go to a lot of like the same places, so everyone kind of just
Okay.
they know.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. They know they
That young, I do look like I'm in my late 80s. It's just good lighting, I guess, right now. It's a good time of day.
whoa, you're trying to attribute it to other factors. Okay, okay. No problem. No problem. So, like, what advice do you have for, aspiring fighters, the up and coming athletes, in order to take care of themselves and, be able to chase a long career.
As serious as they take their training, they need to take their coaching, their fueling, and their recovery. It's all a cohesive thing. It's get ahead of the game now, because then you're going to have that one up on the next person next to you, because everyone's getting into it now. And so if you're 17, 16, 15, trying to come up and build your career, get on top of it now, because when you're getting into the professional ring and trying to get those contracts, it's around that 2021. And if you're on point and you're not, you're doing everything you can to prevent injury, and you're on top of your training, and you're eating the way you're supposed to be eating, and you're taking care of your body and your mindset, you have an unstoppable career path in front of you. But
So
the
for
more you limit and the
people,
more you reduce, no, sorry.
okay, so I was gonna ask it, like, for people who are not into fighting, young
Oh, not
people
into
generally.
fighting
Yeah,
in
like
general?
what's your advice as a big sister? You are a big sister, certified big sister, licensed big sister. So you have to advise the younger generation, like, what should they do, especially given, the many distractions in this age and time.
The biggest thing I tell people is, movement is important. I want you stretching, but get some time to where you can walk outside and just have some time for yourself. And just, it doesn't have to be a fast paced walk, or doesn't have to be the slowest thing in the world, but just get moving for yourself and enjoy being outside and in nature, and let that be part of your recovery process. Cause that's your time with yourself to reevaluate some things, to see what you want to do tomorrow, next week. What are your goals for next year? And it's taking that time for yourself, putting yourself first.
Fantastic.
Being
So
selfish is good.
this selfish, I wouldn't call it being selfish. I'll be more like, say, being more self-conscious.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, more self-conscious. Yeah. So because I wouldn't categorize myself as selfish, and I wouldn't, describe you as selfish as well. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. What do you think is the most rewarding part of the job that you do?
Oh gosh, there's so many. There really is a lot, because it's not just necessarily from like the athletes and the fighters that, especially if we went through a harsh camp because we had an injury. And so from like the fighter's perspective, that there was an injury that we had to keep hidden and we had to work around and make sure nobody was involved in, and that we're still doing our jobs and keeping them safe and everything went well and they get the win. It's the thank yous after that, for just allowing them to be themselves within those camps. Because sometimes it's like when you got an injury, you are so paranoid and you are just hoping nobody finds out, and we're working around certain things and we're trying not to make it worse, and you're overanalyzing everything. So to build that, give your fighters that peace of mind that they've got the support system around them to achieve the goal to win the fight. That's the biggest thing, because they're so thankful for that. And these fighters are very humbled in so many different ways. And that's an amazing, rewarding thing, is the after. It's just like, hey, we did this with all these obstacles that nobody knew about, and we kicked fucking ass. Like, that's awesome. But and
Oh
then
wow.
it's like when I get my, my older clients and like the some of my medical clients, and a lot of them come to me defeated already, because they've heard no so many different times, or this is it.
Hmm.
This is 65. This is 70. And it's like, no, I don't like that. I don't accept that. That's a one-stop answer for somebody that you're just going to see in front of you that's their age is 70. And for me, it's when they're already a little bit of a cynic because they've heard no, and it is what it is so
Yeah.
many
It
times.
affects you mentally.
It's huge, and then when I get to prove everybody else in their world wrong that they've been hearing from for years. And some people think I'm younger than I am, and they're like, just because I don't have gray hairs all over my head, or I don't have completely white hair, they're like, oh, how much does
because
she
you
really know?
because
I'm
you
like, well,
won the
I've been yeah,
genetic lottery.
and I've always been curious and observant. And I'm the kind of person that if you'll allow me in the room, I will sit there peacefully and watch. And I love watching the interactions of all different athletes, coaches, sports, even on the business aspect, analytical, all those things, because you can take away these things and apply them in different manners to yourself, your tact, your fighters, the people in front of you, but just people in general. especially with my older clients when they've been just hearing no, and it is what it is for so long that this pain's never going to go away. You're going to always forever be taking these prescriptions. And then when I start giving them little breakthroughs and they don't have to do that anymore and they no longer need their walker or their cane anymore and they're able to go dancing and do a date night, it's like,
It's fulfilling.
yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Whoa. Whoa. That's highly, highly, highly fulfilling. Like you can't put a value to it.
You can't.
Yeah, it's a feeling that money cannot buy.
Oh yeah, no, I get to change people's lives every day. I get to make it better. Not a lot of people can say they do that every day. It's very thankful for what I do.
Hmm. Wow, interesting. You're an MMA nerd just like myself, right? So, uh,
Love it. I'm like when it comes to fighting, I love it. Like I'll watch all promotions. I love watching fighting. The
whoa.
knowledge, like rankings and fight cards and how to enunciate people's names. No, I go like one of the coaches at the gym, Aaron. Oh my God, he's my Google. So whenever I have like a fight question about something, like I always go to him because he just has, yeah, him and Coach Curtis, like they are the nerds when it comes to fighters and their stats and cards and weight classes. It's like, yeah, I love
Did
to
you ever
watch
fight
violence
yourself?
though.
Did you ever
I
fight
fought
yourself?
like a long time ago when I was like 17. I did smokers and kickboxing. I dislocated my left knee 3 times within the fights. I got broken ribs during a fighting camp once. But yeah, after that, it was like, no, it's like I need a career path and I want to fix what this is because I know what I could do.
Fighting is not for pandas.
Oh, I love it still. I still spar. I still like to train with the people I like to. It's a lot of fun. It's once you can respect getting hit, you really have a different outlook and perspective on things in life and how they impact you. Like a lot of
Mm,
people panic when they get hit. A lot of people
yeah.
get upset. They shut down, they cry because they've never been hit before. And even if it wasn't even a hard hit, but when you can control something technically a negative action on you and you're like, oh no, we're good. This isn't a controlled space. I'm fine. Actually, this is cool. I can do this too. But it builds a different level of confidence, but self-certainty as well. And those are things
Good
I think
character.
people character. And I think a lot of gyms run into that. What is it? There's the stigma over MMA gyms and Muay Thai gyms and wrestling and jiu-jitsu that everyone there has egos and there's every, you can't be a part of that group. Majority of these gyms that I've been in, and I'm pretty sure a lot of my coaches will back me up on this, a lot of them are just the biggest nerds ever. And it's amazing. They are the best human beings because they were the ones that were picked on in school and bullied and bloomed late in life. And they didn't have, either dad wasn't home or mom wasn't home or dad was non-existent or not present, and all these things, these people tend to gravitate to go somewhere where they can be led to be bigger, better, and protect themselves. And when you can get that, it's a pretty awesome thing. You see confidence change in how somebody walks and how they
Hmm.
talk and their approach. And yeah, when you walk into the gyms, it's like half these guys are talking about Magic the Gathering or, a D&D or, anime. And it's the funniest thing. I'm like, these guys aren't intimidating. They're just so nice. And it's the funniest thing. It's like every majority of the people in the fight world are a bunch of nerds. And I love it. I love it just for that plain fact.
Whoa. It's amazing seeing people's lives transform, right?
Hmm.
And me being a nerd myself, like growing up, it felt like it's not cool to be a nerd. But
Hmm.
I am grateful that I stuck, with my nerdish ways, my
Me
nerdy
too.
ways, right? Because it's funny how life pans out, right? In the early stages of life, right? The nerds are always looked at as the ones that are not cool. But
Yeah.
over time, right? The ones that were cool now look up to the nerds.
Hmm.
And then you're like,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
Yeah, that's why I tell people, I'm like, hey, if you're a nerd, embrace it, empower it, just go
Yeah,
deep dive
embrace
into
it.
that because
Yeah,
it's going to do you good.
embrace it, I tell you, I tell you. Now, MMA. the sport we love, Mount Rushmore of MMA. Everybody have their own picks. Who are the guys or who are the people that make your own Mount Rushmore? And okay, let's do a top five. So
Top
Mount Rush,
five.
yeah, let's do a top five. The Mount Rushmore plus one honorable mention. So that
Okay.
should be cool.
I'm gonna have to
So who's your
pause for just now. I'm gonna do this, but I gotta grab my battery because my laptop's discharging.
whoa?
I'm gonna grab my charger really quick.
That's cool.
Yeah, I know.
Whoa.
This should reach. If not, I will move it. I know. Okay, I'm back. Okay, I was like, yeah, this is gonna die. And you have me till like 12:15, so you're good. We're good.
Okay. Oh, top
So top
five.
five. Top five. This is hard. This is really hard. It's just like, I've seen so many different fighters coming up, especially younger. I used to watch a lot of boxing with my dad. So of course I'm going to say like Mike Tyson. And that's someone still to this day. I think if I ever met him, I'd probably freak out. Cain
Yep.
Vasquez, that's just amazing.
Oh, so you're combining all the combat sports together,
Yes, you've got
not
to. If you
MMA.
can't, yeah, it's everything because all these things, yeah, it all contributed to that. They all grew into that. It
Okay.
impacted that.
Okay, let's do a top 10 then.
Top
All
10.
combat
Oh my
sports.
gosh. I have to, oh yeah,
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
horrible
yeah,
with names too, so that's even worse. Yeah, of course, Alex Pereira, amazing story with everything that he's gone through. And,
Alex
just,
Pereira, Cain
yeah,
Velasquez,
as Mike
Mike
Tyson.
Tyson. Whoa.
I was always a huge fan of Adesanya when he was in Glory. So like
Whoa,
for
my
me, that was a huge
boy.
thing. Yeah. So I was a huge fan of him then. Even Pereira, I was watching them back then. So for me, when they transitioned to UFC, I was like, oh, this is gonna be a little different. This is kind of cool. Of course, like a much respect to fighters like Valentina Shevchenko and Alexa Grasso, their backgrounds and the hard work that they've put on. And it's not a one trick pony thing. It's like these women are working their asses off and impacting the world. And I hope that really sets a precedent and inspires like younger female fighters to work that hard and like, hey, you can have better outcomes that way. It's pretty awesome. Let me see who else. Okay, and then if we're going into like one champ, see, and I can't pronounce a lot of these names. I'm so bad at this. A lot of the Muay Thai fighters.
One champ. Wow.
Yeah, I watch all the promotions. I'm so bad. So like,
There's this guy,
I like
Rotan.
Bokal is amazing and Rotang,
Rotan.
amazing fighters.
That guy is
Harrison,
crazy.
yeah, it's like, all these guys, they move amazingly well. It's just like they make it look so effortless, and I love it. It's striking for me as a love.
How about Demetrius Johnson?
Demetrius
The
Johnson,
beast.
see, it's like, yeah. It's like, you got these, and then, going back to UFC, and then I'm trying to think of PFL. Someone I've just been getting more into, Kai Sadibo or Sadibo, really
Yes,
great with the
I
PFL.
Sadibo, the
Love the
Senegalese
way he
guy.
fights. So it's just, I love watching him. I've been watching him a lot
I would have loved to
lately.
see him in
So
the UFC.
yeah, that'd be a lot of fun to watch.
Insane.
And it's like the crew that I work with. I love the fighters I work with too. It's like, Alex Perez, amazing fighter, just all around, just great, solid people. Let me see who else. This is really hard when you're limiting me, and I'm so glad I don't have to put these in an order because it would be even worse.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember this other guy in the PFL. He's a welterweight. He was meant to fight with the UFC, but he's French. But he did. I don't know why he did not come into the UFC. But I think the UFC signed him at some point.
Okay.
Very, uh, very dominant guy. Just a black French guy. I struggle to remember his name. What's his name? I'll probably remember later.
See, I'm the horrible with the names, so trust me, no judgment. Like I'm great with faces. I can tell you what our first conversation was when we first met. I can tell you what you're wearing. When it comes to names, I am horrible with names. Don't know what exactly it is. I am really bad at names. Unless I say it like over and over and over, I'm horrible with it.
Oh, wow. Wow. I think I can't remember his name.
You got like fighters like Ray Sefo that are now part of like the PFL, and Ray still like when I get to watch him box. Cedric Doumbé, yeah, he's got enough personality and ego for the world, that man.
That
He
guy
would
is
be
good.
interesting. Yeah, definitely. Cedric is an entertainer for sure.
I wish he came to the UFC.
It would be interesting to see if I don't know, if that's a realm that he's wanted to take, or a route. But it would be interesting if he went into UFC. I'm not sure if he has any ground game. It'd be interesting to see for sure. It'd be entertaining to watch because he can strike and he can kick. So it'd be
Elite
interesting to see what
level.
he could do with that. Yeah, definitely for sure.
Elite level. So for me, I like to put people in the MMA space on the sport, right? When it comes to the top three disciplines you need to succeed in MMA to be a well-rounded MMA fighter. For me, my philosophy is wrestling, jiu-jitsu, and Muay Thai kickboxing. So for you, what would be your top three disciplines?
For me, it would be Muay Thai wrestling then Jiu-Jitsu.
Yes, we agree.
Different order. Different order though.
Different order. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why you're the sister from the other side of the pond.
Like for me, it's like because it's like I look at it this way: when you're taught, when you're learning to fight and to protect yourself, how often is someone immediately going to take you down to the ground in public, on a cement, on asphalt, on a beach, in a bar? It's like no, someone's going to punch you. They're going to hit you
Striker.
over the head with something. They're going to strike. So you need to know how to use your hands. And there's a lot of fighters, even on a professional level, that I've seen that just don't even know the simple technique of a 1-2 jab cross. And they completely
Because it's
rely on their ground game. And I'm like, really? It's like,
really
that's all you got. You've really got to put in the work for everything. You got to have respect for everything that can take you down.
reminds me of this guy that Masvidal knocked out. The guy who came from one championship to the
Oh,
UFC.
the curly head guy. Yeah, he with the flying knee
That
on the entry.
was a
Oh my gosh. See, I don't know his name.
the
Don't know
guy
his
is a
name.
crazy, crazy
Yeah.
wrestler, like
Yeah,
elite
crazy
level wrestler.
wrestler. And look at flying knee. Took him out.
Whoa, like it is crazy, and I don't think he ever really recovered from that fight.
Yeah, I don't think he did ever really. It was a lot. A lot got taken out from him. And then he became a meme, and that was all over for for the world to see.
Became a meme. It's not a nice thing when you
Yeah.
become a meme. Whoa. So, wow. I'm about to let you go, but let me see. Do you have any shout out to anybody before you leave? And of course, shout out to
Well,
your dogs.
oh, I know that. They're getting a little. Hi,
Whoa.
Archibald. Well, thank you for having me. Definitely, and just I'm not the greatest at podcasts. I'm not really good at filtering my face or watching
Whoa.
my words. Yeah, no,
Whoa.
so bad at it. So I'm getting used
Don't
to this. So thank
worry.
you.
When this one comes out, don't worry. You will see that you're great at it.
Thank you. Um, yeah, just shout out to Andrada Muay Thai, my home gym, Iridium Sports Agency that I work closely with, to the fighters that I work with and will be working with soon. And yeah, a huge event coming. WWE's coming for in April here to Las Vegas. They're doing a big smash event, and I'll be working with them out there. Always awesome things and opportunities coming around. If you're ever in Vegas, please come by Andrada Muay Thai. You gotta
And
check
of
it
course,
out.
if you're ever in London, come down and
I'll let you
hang out
know
with
if
the
I'll be
Kid
there. I'll let
Babes.
you know if I'm there in
Okay,
December.
okay, definitely, because I'm going for a Cage Warriors event in November, and of course, probably we'll go for another Cage Warriors events in December as well. You know, it will
Awesome.
be nice. It will be nice having you in London, England. You know, the
Definitely, for
woman,
sure.
the myth, and the legend, Cindy Panda, Cindy Panda Hernandez. So I'm gonna leave you with this joke, right? You are a smart
Yeah.
person, but there's something about smart people. Smart people always think they are dumb, and dumb people always think they're smart. Why?
They're overthinking it.
So you said you're not good at podcasting, right? And of course, we have
Yeah,
had
no, I'm
a
horrible.
fantastic, a fantastic 2 hours plus session, and you say you're horrible. If that is the definition of horrible, I want to be horrible. Thank you very, very much for your time.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you. Look forward to doing this again soon.
Okay, and of course, stay horrible, please.
Thank